You're listening to the Salty Sex Cast with Pamela and Mariah.
Yeah, and what's puberty?
The sex education you wish you had in high school.
Maybe a diagram will help.
Hello. I'm back.
You're back. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah. And I have some good news. I got DP'd.
Tally one.
Yes. And it's March. It's really unfortunate.
But you knew that when you made that, this wasn't to get high numbers. It was just to get more than last year.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like it's a competition with yourself.
Yeah.
I'm still 7.
And I'm still winning. Every time it happens, I'm winning. So
I love it. So today is episode 64. We're inching up there. Mm-hmm. We're getting there. But we're going to talk about sex trends. What do you do when it's trending? I have no clue.
Hashtag sex.
Yeah, I was like, is there a hashtag that we can? Yeah. So Brady actually brought this up. You were the one who pitched the idea for us.
Yeah, it was my idea because I was thinking about, like I was telling you earlier, the first threesome Jamie and I had was with someone who was quite a bit older than us, and well, not quite a bit, but she was older than us. So like her approach to sex was like indicative to her generation of sexual beings.
Tell us more about that.
Well, it was just like her. She didn't shave.
Okay.
Like she did do maintenance, but like didn't full on shave.
Okay.
And then, there were just certain things that she wouldn't do, I think, because of that
Can
generational
you say what
thing.
those things are?
I don't know if I should or not.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I don't know how she would feel about me talking about it.
But it did make you notice, like, hey, there's something a little bit different between her and others that we've had sex with that are younger.
Well, and then that was kind of what pointed out to me that she was older than me. Like I didn't realize she was that much older because I think it was like 15 years.
Oh, until she wouldn't do certain things.
Or no, it was just sort of like
Different.
And like the way she talked about it was more like my dad's porno magazines than like a Pornhub video, right? So like it was like kind of old school.
Okay.
Is the way that I would describe it. And then when we had our next threesome with a younger woman, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that you were younger than me. And then like at some point, we were talking about what it's like having sex in high school. And I was like, yeah, it was pretty dry out there. Like,
no one was doing it.
It's not that people weren't having sex. It was just like, when I was in high school, finding girls that swallowed, like they didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. It was something that only happened in porn. And she was like, and I mentioned that, and she was like, oh yeah, like, no, you're not getting a boyfriend unless you swallow.
See, that's so
in modern day.
Interesting. Yeah, because, well, I mean, you're only a couple years older than I am.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of, like, I remember hearing about spitting, but it like was like one of those, like, you're already tasting it. Why are you spitting? Like, I don't get it. You just swallow it. Like, so at least for me, I didn't follow that trend.
Well, and I mean, I think there's groups of people that are ahead of and behind the curves at all times, right?
Yeah, there's your trendsetters.
But how old was she?
She was 27.
Oh, okay.
So
high school was far enough away.
Far enough away. And then for me...
He's picking him off the school ground. He's like, who's 18?
Yeah.
I got a cool
wondering
trick.
if she was like, oh yeah, and that was last year.
I just look for tattoos. Yeah. No. Because you got to be 18.
No, you don't.
What?
Yeah, you can
Not
get your
really.
parents' signature,
that's
or if
fair.
you know
Or
someone.
if you know someone, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Be
don't
careful.
let that be your only.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we check for ID at the door now. But, and then one of the things that I noticed was online, there's all of a sudden been a shift when it comes to grooming standards.
Like porn? Is
Not,
that what you
not
mean
just
online?
not just porn, but like
Or what
it's
people
more
are
about like
talking about?
amateur people posting photographs of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's gone
Do
from
you mean like on social media?
yeah, like Reddit. Reddit's usually where I
Okay.
bump into that kind of thing. And so it's gone from like everybody is super smooth shaven all the time, and now all of a sudden there's like a resurgence in the 70s bush. Like guys are bragging about how furry they are, and like I'm from a generation where I'm like, ugh.
So is is the full bush on men and women, or
It's coming back, I think. Well, I mean, like women tend to be.
I think just the bald is going out.
Yeah, bald is going
what
out.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like that clean shaven is just kind of out, at least kind of going out. For me, it's probably never going to go out. I really appreciated clean surface.
Yeah.
see, I can't fully shave because I have such sensitive skin. I have tried everything. I've tried shaving and waxing and everything, so I just cut it really short. But also, I don't really like shaved people because when it grows back in, it's so prickly.
So uncomfortable. So
That's why I get waxed.
learned a shaving technique that I shave every single day. I've actually had less ingrown hairs, less irritation, and I'm always fucking smooth.
Interesting.
So, I mean, unless it's like I've just been lazy and then there's like the whole week goes by. So I'm either really great or just not at all. But okay, so trends as far as like pubic hair, I think that totally goes for trends because everyone was, I mean, there's a reason we call it 70s bush.
Yeah.
So like it was a
Yeah.
thing back then. And then, you know,
Well,
then
I
there was
think
like,
it was it's not necessarily that it was a thing back then. I think at that point and before, the majority of people didn't shave.
yeah.
I think it became a trend to shave at some point, like in the 80s, right?
And I think it started from porn. If I remember, I read something about when did people start scaping.
When porn industry.
Yeah, and
claimed.
so like you guys know, I'm a nudist. So like
Oh, I
I
thought you were
follow.
going to say a porn consumer. I was like, yes, we know.
Am I?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if we compared our usage
That's a brave assertion to make.
that you consume
I use
porn.
I use less porn than you do. Guaranteed. Yeah. We'll
talk about
We'll
this.
talk about that. Trends, women looking at porn. Is it changing? What were you talking about? Oh, so like I follow a couple of different nudist accounts, and one of them is like vintage nudism. And so they have like people that were like famous in the nudist community, and they'll post like photographs of them when they were doing like their photo shoots for a magazine to like, hey, come check out this new resort. And all of those people super furry. And then as the colors or the pictures go from black and white to color and they get newer and newer, it's like the hair gets shorter and shorter. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously there are some trends, and we did a little bit of research to find out what other trends people are predicting and like what the trends were for last year.
Well, 'cause I think
I was
what-
interested.
Exactly, because when Brady brought it up, I was like, is it a trend? Are there a lot of sexual trends, or are we just aging and it's different for us? Like, I'm not on my knees sucking a lot of cock these days. Like, but back when I was a teenager, it was a little bit different. So is that like an age trend, or is that just a thing, like societal trend? So we did research. Pamela did research.
Pamela did the bulk
she's
of the
getting
research.
all of the kudos today.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple of things that I found really interesting were like the VR and sex robots. And so basically like artificial intelligence is becoming a huge sexual trend.
Also, like virtual reality. How cool is that to like, you know, you can meet people online. And that's, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just with the times. That's just moving with technology.
You know what was so fucking hilarious though is that this particular article that named that as one of the trends, the picture above it was this white dude with his virtual reality, like Google, whatever it's called.
Oculus?
It's not the Oculus, but it's the
Virtual-
Oculus.
the virtual reality headset thing.
It's the Oculus, whatever. Yeah, the VR headset on, and then his girlfriend in her underwear, like with her arm around him, like holding the virtual reality headset on him. It was just so dumb. It was like, let me hold this for you while you pretend to fuck another woman. And his hand was like out in front of him. It was strange. It was just a strange interpretation
Don't
of what
use VR if someone's in front of you. That's so rude.
Right, like there was this incredibly hot girl who he was ignoring to have virtual sex.
Have you seen Taboo? It's a documentary. It used to be on Netflix. But at one point, they were talking to women, and I believe they're in Japan or China, and they were talking about like how frustrating it is to have sex with men because they're so like ruined by sex toys and porn. And so she talked about going on this like really
Wait, men are ruined by sex toys?
yeah, men are ruined and the women are upset about it. And so like this woman was telling the story to the reporter, and I think it was from like MSNBC. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, so we went on this really lovely date. And then like the moment it came to sex, he pretty much just like took it out, laid down, put porn on his phone and laid back. And then I was just supposed to get on top.
What?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And she did it and then just was like, that was the last date we ever had. But
Why
I was
did
like,
she do it though?
I don't know. I don't know.
And
we're
want to
gonna have to
dedicate
find
a
that
whole
documentary.
episode to sex robots because these are really cool.
Do we need to
But
build you a
also
sex
a little
robot?
terrifying at the same time. Like, where are we going in society? But
Judgment Day.
at the same time, are we protecting other people? You know, can we actually legalize this type of industry, save people who are being trafficked? Who knows where we can go with this? But I want to really dedicate a whole episode to sex robots for sure because it's insane the
an
technology
interesting
we have now.
At what
Take on
point?
that. Do you know what that movie is called?
Terminator?
I think it has Melanie Griffith in it, and it's all about how all the natural women in the world are replaced by sex robots,
What?
and because women
Are
are
they indiscernible?
considered-
Like you don't know?
Yeah, you can't tell.
That would be fucked up. At what point
And
does AI get to say no?
I'm a robot.
There are different models you can choose from, right? There's the like sweet innocent housewife. There's the really whorish girlfriend. There's the teenager. And
Oof.
yeah. And so I just remember this one scene where the guy, the protagonist of the movie, was like being taken through the shop of all and like shown all the different models that he could choose from. Super creepy. And I think Melanie Griffith was like a natural woman, and they all had to like hide and live in secret. And
Could you
like
just
fight
pretend
for their
to be a robot?
lives.
And be
I
abused?
don't think so, because I think like you would look like one of these 5 models.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Like
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of variation.
So you couldn't be normal.
So you would be
So was
identified.
she in hiding because she was a natural woman and like
Yeah.
highly sought after?
Yeah, well, I
Okay.
think she was in hiding because she was a natural woman and therefore her life was in danger. Like they were threatened because somebody convinced all of society that real human women were threatening, right? Which is actually something, if historically
They're not that far off.
That has been
Yeah.
an argument that people have made in order to subdue women, is that they are, wild. They are look at the Adam and Eve story, right? They are the temptress that will lead you down the path to damnation. And so it was that kind of idea behind.
Well, the name of the surgery to get rid of your uterus, like the Latin base, is to get rid of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because
hysterectomy?
hysteria.
Yeah. Hysteria.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Y'all are
hysteria
nuts.
was blamed for women acting out, and that's why.
So trends of even repressing women.
Have you seen that movie too about the man who invented the vibrator?
No,
I watched a documentary on
I
it.
need
telling
to
you
make
about
a
it?
movie list, you guys, because you always
Yeah.
talk about great movies, and I just
Maybe
don't
we should
watch
have a
whole
salty sex cast movie night, and then we should review the movie.
projector
live stream
in the
projector.
backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost summer.
We could,
Time or
yeah,
springtime,
we
so.
could do a Zoom meeting for people who want to buy a movie ticket.
Yeah.
That's cool. But technology is going to be like a whole different thing, and I think maybe that's not even a trend per se, but just what's available. Because what's really fun is just to kind of watch trends as they ebb and flow, like that aren't, because of availability.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. I mean, one is like sexual mindfulness.
Yeah.
is what you have up there, and I thought that was really cool, where people are like just being way more mindful and kind of doing the where
Where the goal isn't necessarily orgasm.
yeah. So it's more of like
The goal is to be present and feel pleasure and give pleasure.
so that tantric sex kind of vibe that you're getting through it. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's a trend. It's on the upward.
Yeah. Oh, I had a tantric massage for the first time
How'd that go?
last week. It was incredible. I actually felt like energy pulsing through my body
I feel
from his hands.
I feel like this is a trend that we're living in right now, where we can go see people about
Energy.
Just sexual health.
like sexual health
Yeah,
people.
that's
Like I
actually
don't.
one of the things that was on my list.
Oh,
was
is it?
that? Yeah, it's kind of I think down
Oh.
toward the bottom, but just like sex therapy
Sexual
is
coaching.
it's becoming more socially acceptable to seek help in that area where people are like, oh, this is actually, and Mariah can speak to this, a part of my life that should require it's sexual health is a part of my life that should require my attention and some proactivity. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you wanted to hear more about that, we have an episode on Sexual Wellness 101.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk exactly about that. How like that's a piece of you. That's a holistic piece of you. If you're forgetting that sexual piece, you can't fully be well. I just really think you cannot. And so I love that more people are seeing that. There's more professionals who have professional training and are licensed and have certificates and know exactly what the fuck they're doing. So it's not just some horny person being fucking creepy and telling you what to do with your body.
Yeah.
That's definitely not what any of those people, at least if you can vet them, right? Go do some research on where they got their education and, maybe word of mouth if someone else is seeing them type thing. Try not to just Google that because that might be scary. But
yeah, I hired a sexpert to help me with my sexual health, and it was hugely
And
helpful.
I just think, like, if I just rewound the clock 2 years, the idea of like finding someone to like go reveal myself intimately to and work on sex with. I'd be afraid to Google it.
yeah. Well, it's
You know
because
what I
our
mean?
podcast
And now there's-
didn't exist 2 years ago.
Well, but now there's people that are like licensed and trained and they're
Dedicate their practice.
I've spoken to 2 people in the course of doing this podcast that were building, they were basically on the leading edge of building knowledge about sexual
Yeah.
wellness
Well,
and doing dissertations or papers on sexual wellness stuff when that wasn't necessarily ever done before,
and that's
which
what
is great news.
That's what I found in my little bit of research that I did was that they're not saying it's necessarily a trend right now, but they're saying we're just on the brink of it becoming like more
will
widely
be soon.
available.
Yeah.
Like we know about it because we do this podcast, right? But the general population is going to be more aware that kind of help is out there in the near future. And so if you're thinking about becoming a sex therapist or a sexual wellness coach or something in that industry, go for it because
Yes.
it's going to be
It's
booming.
huge. It's trend setting right now. And that's why I'm highly thought of after not only just for my coaching, but to teach coaching.
Yeah.
There's not enough people in the field that are certificate and have the proper credentials to actually teach others. And so that's kind of one thing that I've been able to tap into.
That's
and
so great.
And I was like, man, why is everyone coming to me about coaching and like coaching advice and how to become a coach? Not just for coaching, but like how to become a coach and like that. And someone else, who I'm seeing her as like, she's my coach. And she was just like, because you're one of the trendsetters. You're one of the early adopters and you've actually been able to go get the proper certificates that are what health insurance recognizes and everything like that. And so she's like, that's massive. And I was like, I didn't realize it was that new and popular. And she's like, you are on the cusp.
I only heard about it for the first time a few years ago.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. So I love that now we're being able to really that niche down into the actual sexual wellness, relationship wellness of that. But really a TikTok, if you're on TikTok at all, you see a lot of trends. I like TikTok. I don't put out content, but
Nerd.
I do like watching it. That's why I don't watch any movies because I watch fucking 30-second clips all day. Anyway,
You need to follow Silk and Salt on TikTok.
You do.
Because, well, I'm looking at you. But anyway, anybody. Because Mateusz we have like lots of videos of Mateusz on there posing, and it's the cutest thing ever.
I thought I
love that
followed you
boy.
because I have seen
Oh,
him.
do you? I don't run the account, so.
Gotcha. But so they talk about like just trends. You know, when we were talking about like pubic hair, there's one girl or one video of a woman, and she was just like, "So are we still like bald, or what are we doing these days?" And like just the comments and everything. So it was just great. But you know, other things that you see on there is so many. Just the alphabet mafia. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say alphabet mafia?
LGBTQ.
Yeah.
There you go.
LGBTQ.
Yeah.
QIA plus.
IA plus. Yeah.
Yes. So
Soon there are going to be too many letters for me to remember them all.
alphabet mafia, right? But just even that, and like how many queer folks that are out there, and how trending. Not that it's trendy. But just to be able, it's growing.
Well, to be fair, some of them are very trendy.
Well, yes. But when they surveyed back in 2017, like the adult population, I think it was like 2% or something. And now like between the ages of like 18 and 25. And now that's like doubled. Of like, so it was just, I'm so sorry. I don't have the proper statistics in front of me. But that is growing.
Yeah.
That is, and I don't think that's a trend that's going to go downhill. You know, that's probably one that we're going to see. But
I've for sure noticed that a lot of my friends' daughters are openly gay or bisexual in high school.
yeah.
And at one point, when my girls were younger, sorry, that threw me off because one of my kids is actually gender neutral, so now I feel bad for calling them a girl. But anyway, back then they did identify as a girl. But anyhow, they said to me that like it was super trendy to be gay at that point as a girl. Like it was still difficult for the boys in school.
Well, I still feel like I can't tell people that I'm bisexual without a giant explanation.
No, I think it's really difficult for men, but for women, it's always been more acceptable, right? Because the hot lesbian idea.
Right.
But
I lose all my
now-
street cred.
Yeah, but now the high school age kids, like it's almost a way to gain popularity or to fit in a little
To
bit
just come
better.
out as bi?
Queer.
Or queer?
Well, specifically, not to come out necessarily, but to have a girlfriend.
As a girl.
Interesting.
And some
Okay.
of them are just, they don't necessarily identify that way. They're just kind of experimenting and seeing, is this what I am? You know?
Yeah.
Well,
And
I mean, to
that's
be
fine.
fair,
That's
girls
totally
are a
fine.
lot easier to look at than men.
Well,
I could totally see that.
Well, I
Girls
think in
are
high
more
school,
open to conversations and vulnerability. So I think that also helps them be kind of a little bit. It's easier to experiment when you're willing to have a conversation.
There's also that sort of like sun moon energy, right? And like sometimes you get enough sun and you just want a little moon.
yeah, but also I don't know if you remember what boys were like in high school.
Right. Yeah, they
God.
they're dicks and they're dumb. And
But if I wanted to get off and, you know, didn't want to involve a boy,
yeah.
that's a good solution.
Yeah, it's
it's
really
probably a better
interesting to
smelling
watch
solution.
that trend.
Like,
Oh my god.
guys are just. I always tease Jamie when we fool around with a new girl, and it's like, no wonder you're bi, because like looking at girls, you guys are so, you know, like Ferraris and Jaguars and really nice Corvettes,
I love how you just went like this in the air. Like I don't even think you meant to.
and then
Girls
guys are
look
just sort of
like-
like pickup trucks. We're there for a
Built
job.
for durability.
Yeah, we're there for a job. We carry things, but we mostly grunt and smell. So
Well,
I'm just teasing.
yeah.
I'm sorry if I offended any of you guys that grunt and smell.
But high school boys especially have absolutely no clue what they're doing. They don't know how to pleasure a girl. So
Some of them do.
Oh, that was good. Good job.
Smooth braiding.
Well, I listened to a
That
lot
was
of
the
Love Line.
funniest joke you have ever said.
Hey, I paid attention to the trends.
How smart.
Yeah, I paid
smart
attention to the
young man.
trends. Yeah,
Good.
and I found out it's not about penetration; it's about ringing the devil's doorbell.
Yes, that's right. Good job, Brady.
Sorry, I took us off track there.
You're fine. We were kind of like talking about.
Wait, go back up a little bit.
I think
queer.
What were we gonna? Oh, I was gonna mention someone predicted that polyamory.
Oh, that's further
is-
down.
That's why I was
it further down?
I was
Yeah.
segueing into that. That's why I was
were
like,
you?
it's
Sorry,
okay.
we got off
And
track.
then we're really good at getting each other off track, so totally forgiven.
Well, that's something
But I
that
thought that was really interesting because it's true. Like when I first heard of polyamory, it was 5 years ago when I moved here, or ish, you know. Before that point, I had never heard the word before, and most people that I talked to in the last, you know, or in those next few years, had never heard of it before. And then it started popping up in media, mainstream media.
in like Facebook groups and like
Yeah,
it was kind of a snowball thing. It was like it wasn't there, and then all of a sudden it just sort of like I remember being online
yeah.
as it kind of came into fashion.
Yeah, and it's still in mainstream
And it-
media. It's still this thing to be gawked at, you know, like those weird
Those
neighbors.
unhealthy, sex crazed, you know, they just
I
want
kind of
to
gawk. I kind of gawk a little bit.
But I mean, we're not at that point yet where it's like part of normal society where people are just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
the throuple that lives next door, whatever.
Well,
That's-
yeah, when you start saying like,
fine.
you know, when you start just referring to, do you have a partner or partners? Then you know it's
Then,
been,
yeah.
holy shit. We're barely getting on the whole partner thing. And so, do you have a boyfriend or a husband?
Yeah.
Because you're female, so now I need to assume that that's
That
who you're
you're
with.
straight. Mhm.
And you know, it's
That's something I screw up still.
it's moving,
Yeah.
but it's still like it's moving exponentially. You know, like we're at this curve and it's just starting to get there. Like we're just starting to accept like your spouse or your partner verbiage.
Yeah.
But then now it's all of a sudden like partner or partners. Like I see the S in parentheses a lot and a lot of actual like scientific articles that I'll read.
I can't wait to apply for a visa for my partner or partners to go to Mars.
I think when we'll really know is when
Insurance.
legislation is passed that recognizes, I mean, there's just like been like the teeniest bit, but for the most part, you're just not legally recognized as someone's spouse or partner or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look how long gay marriage took.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's going to be a long, hard road.
Do you want to know something interesting? Utah is the only state in the United States where on the books it's illegal to marry more than one person.
You know, we are very late to the trends in general as a state.
There's there's no
It's in our state constitution.
there's no legislation in other states that says you can't, but it's federal, right? There's a federal law.
I don't think that there's a federal
There's
law.
got to be because
I know that it's
bigamy
not
is-
allowed. Yeah, bigamy is not allowed, but Utah is the only state with it in their constitution.
in the Constitution
Is what I should say. Yeah, their constitution.
Okay.
I
Yeah, no, that
apologize.
makes more sense. Well, they were forced to put it in there in order to
become
become,
a state.
ratified as a state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And after watching some of the documentaries about polygamy, and like, obviously there are bad versions of polygamy and there are good versions of polygamy. Just
there are
like
good versions of polygamy. Name one.
well, just like the I'm gonna have to find the documentary
Okay.
on Netflix and I'll send you a link to it.
Okay.
But after watching that, it's all consenting adults, and they're all choosing to be there. They're not being forced to be there.
Yes, but then you're needing to look at sex roles and how they treat women versus men. Where a man is the only one that's able to have multiple spouses.
Yeah,
A
and that,
woman
I
could
agree
not.
with that.
Yeah,
know,
there's,
so that-
there
Yeah,
is not
I
equality.
agree
Those are
with that.
patriarchal structures.
Yeah.
There-
Yeah. No, I
equality
see
does
what
not
you're saying.
exist in those societies.
What I'm saying is that, in my opinion, after having watched that documentary, if
But
everyone
unforced.
involved chooses to be there, then I'm okay with them being there.
True, because there's still plenty of
Whether
societies. I
it's-
can't judge somebody if that's
Yeah.
how they want to see.
Yeah.
But
There's a show on
That's fine, but
Netflix
they're
or Discovery.
also, you know, they're
the word
Mormon church is
healthy-
full of consenting adults, and I do not
That's fair.
support that. I will support individuals and individuals' choices, but you know,
There's a documentary that I haven't watched
for
yet.
sure I'm going to judge it.
You know
There's-
when? Oh, sorry.
There's a little show that I haven't watched yet, but it's called like Brother Husbands or something instead of like Sister Wives.
So that's called polyandry, and that's really common in cultures where it's important to keep the population low.
Really?
Yeah.
I was unaware of such a thing.
There are very few cultures in the world that practice polyandry, but
So
Isn't there? I think there's a tribe in Africa. I swear that I remember reading this like when I was younger. That was very common. Anyway, I totally
might
could
be.
have been.
there are some Southern American cultures where when a woman decides she wants to be with child, she'll pick men with things that she likes about, like, well, he's funny, but he's also smart, but I'm going to need some athleticism. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know if it's all on the same night or.
yeah, they'll all have sex with her.
Yeah, and then those three
the
men.
The idea is that their sperm
May the
mixes
odds
together
ever
and
be in your
creates
favor.
the baby.
Yes,
Yeah, and then the three men help raise the baby.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So, like with polyamory, I just thought, when you buy a car, then you start all seeing those cars on the road. Like, but usually it's not till after you buy that car.
Yes.
I thought that maybe was just like, is that the trend? Because I had heard about it
feel like
maybe
it's more and more
5
common.
years ago on a reality TV show. She was like, oh, I have a boyfriend, but I'm polyamorous. And so, like, the whole, like, house or whatever was, like, all talking about it. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never heard about that. She looks a little crazy hippie, but go ahead.
You know how
Kinda,
those hippies are.
And so it just kind of, she was just very, she was one of the very first trendsetters, especially on like mainstream media to be able to, like on a TV show. So I remember hearing about it. And then there was you when we were doing photography and you were like, oh yeah, there's my boyfriend. I was like, I've met her husband. Hold on. Did they get a divorce like in the very short span? And then you're like, and then before I could even finish that thought, you were like, yeah, I'm polyamorous. And I was like, oh, I've heard of this word. I know what it means. I want to know more. I have questions.
Do you feel the need to explain yourself when you're caught in those situations? I mean, not the need, but do you feel like it's sort of instinctual to be like, I'm polyamorous?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I feel like if you don't, the question soon, like, wait a minute.
People are going to be so distracted by what the reality of the situation is, or like questioning what the reality
They're
is.
going to be distracted by their fantasy until
they
you
won't be
tell
able
them
to
the
engage
reality.
in the conversation I'm actually trying to have with them. So I
you
just
get it
feel
over
like let's put all of your theories to rest.
See, and for me,
is
it was
what it
something
is.
that when you told me, or when I found out, I just sort of like, cool. And then just like put it out of my mind because it was like, unless she wants to talk about it, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Well, I'm always willing to talk about it. It's just like not that big a deal to me anymore. So
Yeah. You're bored of it.
I've had,
She rolls her eyes like, yeah, well, you know.
I mean, I've had the same conversations over and over and over with people about it. So like,
Just start handing out the podcast
You should
cards,
you should have a card, like a
business
tall person
cards,
card.
and just say, hey, go listen to episode this, and this, because we've obviously dedicated more than one episode to
Yeah.
it. That would just be funny.
Polyamory
Yeah.
is the cursed episode. It never goes well.
that third one actually did. Though.
The third one did. We finally broke
Third
the curse.
time's a charm. That's a real
Yeah,
thing.
I had to burn sage
Well, because
and
it
sacrifice
wasn't
a
really
goat.
polyamorous until we hit 3. So maybe that's why. Are you trying to? I was like,
so slow.
it was delayed. I was like,
I had to move the switch because I had it on the intro outro thing, but just for you.
thanks, Fred.
That was good.
Thank you. But yeah. So I was like, is it just because like I've now heard of it now that it's everywhere? But really, I think it's just kind of trending, and people are done with the stop putting a box around what my relationships look like.
Well, yeah, I truly believe that there's a pretty large portion of the population who's naturally polyamorous. And I think that that's why it's trending so quickly, like it's growing so quickly. Is
Like we all
because-
kind of wanted to be. We just felt
'cause
like we
people are
couldn't.
Like, oh, wait a minute. This is an identity. Like, I'm not alone. I don't have to feel guilty for wanting this. Thank God. I'm just going to move towards what feels right for me. And so I think we're going to get to that point where it's like so socially acceptable that like 30 to 50% of our population actually practices.
It was kind of an easy transition for me and Jamie, having like known some people that were doing it. And then, when our girlfriend moved in because she had no other choice, well, we were like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. And then it just sort of was like, oh, now, like I have to argue with 2 people instead of 1. This is just as fun as I thought it would be.
Well, and just like breaking down what a trend is in general, there's always someone who's like the outlier, right? Like
Yeah.
the first person who does something who's like just brave or stupid or whatever and happens to fall into something.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see, you know what? They didn't die. They're okay.
Yeah, they're going to
They're
make
a
it.
healthy fucking person who's sane, oh, let's try it on. Let's
Yeah.
do it. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how like trends start. And so it's just really interesting now how when you get to be that healthy example of something and it's like, yeah, I didn't die.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. Thanks. Instead of like,
Yeah.
That's definitely been something that's been. I just want to touch on, like, I've seen sex robots and artificial intelligence and stuff up on all the research that you did.
Yeah.
And like, I've watched a lot of James Cameron movies. I'm terrified of sex dolls. And then at what point can artificial intelligence say no?
Yeah, when they're smarter than
yeah.
us.
And then you're bummed out because you paid $5,000 for a sex robot that turns you down.
$5,000.
You mean when do they have autonomy and when do you have to ask for consent?
Yeah, at what point does
That's an
artificial
interesting
at what
conversation.
point does artificial intelligence get to say no?
There's too much gray. There's too much gray area.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
if there's
don't-
too much gray, you should have bought a different robot. They come in different colors and
my
models.
God.
Oh my
Stop.
God. No, that does not deserve that.
You
You
do
take
not.
that back.
I take it back. I'm sorry.
You don't get to push buttons on your own jokes.
That's fair.
But that's why I just don't want to touch it, even with it. So I think it definitely warrants a whole episode.
That's a whole episode is artificially intelligent sex robots.
Uh-huh.
And would it be weird if I bought a robot and I programmed it to say no so that I could fist fight it for lovemaking later?
So I just want to read this little bit from our notes about sex dolls. So it says sex dolls are coming of age with full silicone construction, sometimes creepily, lifelike features, and fully articulating internal skeletons that offer a natural range of motion. And naturally, these are male and female dolls. There are male and female dolls already available.
glow in the dark chest hair.
Where'd you read that? That's a thing?
Second line down. That's fun. That's,
Erotically glowing.
you really could just make it anything. And you have like people who are really into like fantasies, like, different colored skin and like elven ears and like just really,
Yeah.
really like otherworldly, like not human-esque. Or human-esque, but not human identical.
There are thousands and thousands of teenage boys out there that want to fuck an anime character.
Oh, yeah. Now
ever-
you get to.
Did I ever tell you guys about the sheep?
We'll have to just save it for
wanna
another
tell
time.
us about
It's an
the sheep
inflatable
right
sheep.
now? Oh.
It's a sex doll sheep.
Yes. Okay. I've heard of that like long
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
I don't know how we got our hands on one, but one way or another, me and some friends found an inflatable sheep sex doll. And obviously, being a prankster, the best thing to do was to take it to the local public pool, inflate it, and throw it in. And then wait for other people's kids to start playing with it.
Oh.
I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, sex dolls are getting... it's a bizarre thing because now they're putting like chassis in them and motors and vibrators and swap out parts.
So they're really just a sophisticated sex toy.
Yeah. That's a little bit more life-sized.
So I think that eventually, yeah, they might replace humans just because it's a better experience, right? Like
Well, 'cause you get to
my
handpick
boyfriend's
this.
yeah, like my boyfriend's cock doesn't vibrate, but my sex dolls does.
Yeah.
And he looks like, the, epitome of attractiveness.
And you can
and
go
then
as
you
long
have,
as
like-
you want or wait as long as you need.
yeah.
And you have like the objectifying. You now get to objectify because it's a fucking object.
Right. And here's the question
But-
is like, what about those people that have fantasy, like violent fantasies and actually act these things out on their sex dolls? So is that helpful to them because they get their aggression out? Or is it just like the,
I wonder if it's covered by the
Fueling
warranty.
the addiction. Yeah.
fueling
Like,
the addiction exactly like with a serial killer starting with little animals or
Yeah.
and then
But,
moving on
yeah.
to the real thing.
we'll have to do some research on it before we do this episode, but
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk about it because there's got to be just so many things that we can. But right now, just the technology that we have, not only in sex dolls, but, the remote controls of things.
Oh, that's changed a lot.
I think that's so fun. I really want one, but I'm like so picky. I'm like, it's got to be really good quality. I want to be able to sit on a chair and you can't hear it
Yeah.
because I want to go out in public with it. Like, why not? Like,
And
that's
they
the
used-
only reason.
They used to be hooked up to
Yeah,
like a
that would be
cable
very
and then you
hot.
have like a switch.
Yeah.
right?
But now
But
it's
now they're like,
Wi-Fi. Like someone could be around the world on the other side of the world and like controlling like do.
well, like, and we talked about how OnlyFans stars, I don't know what you'd call them, but
Accountants?
the people that are using OnlyFans are like giving the password out to their toy. But like OnlyFans, really, now that I think about it, is a trend that's really freaking new.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And it
that's
used
true.
to be
I
the
didn't
only
even
way
hear about
for-
it, like,
Yeah.
a year. I mean, I've heard of like cam girls and
Sure.
and even like people are using like Patreon for that. But like OnlyFans was kind of like a another Patreon. But then people were able to really hone in on this is what it is, and then it just kind of was like, oh, you're making money doing that. If you can be successful, I can be successful, and then like keep going on, and then
Yeah.
now that's just the if you see sit next to someone's name on their profile in OF and their name,
Now it's so crazy
You can
popular
go.
that I feel like everybody who originally just sort of had like a normal like nudist account or like an exhibition account, now they all have on OnlyFans. Like it's gone from people just being excited to post nudes because they like to post their nudes to like, hey, now pay me. I've noticed that as a trend in the sort of Twitter sphere.
yeah. I mean, and it, you know what also really helps trends just kind of take fire is social media. You know, because then
absolutely.
people are like,
Well, the
Hey, this is
internet's
what
made
I've
everything
done.
faster.
fucking podcasts are trending right now. So if you guys are listening to this out of all the millions of podcasts that are out there, you're fucking awesome and I love you. Thank you so much. Because, you know, especially during quarantine, what else are people going to do?
Yeah, there's so much to choose from out there.
Yeah. There was like equipment you couldn't even buy anymore because so many people
We're starting a podcast.
Yeah, they were like back ordered.
It's incredible.
So
Yeah. You know, something you said earlier about the certain trends being the result of technology coming out. But I think actually the opposite is true. I think certain technologies have been advanced because people were interested in those things and were asking for it, or, you know.
So I get that
wanting
there's
it.
a demand for it. They're going to
Yeah.
fill it. Yeah. Well, and just now that we have some of those technologies finally becoming available to make an AI sex doll kind of thing, you know, I think people were just waiting for that, hoping for it. But Brady, you brought up a trend, just like a random sex trend, and you were like, no one used to eat butthole, but now they do. Like,
Oh yeah, we
everyone
were
does.
texting that.
Oh.
No one ate ass a year ago.
I had to ask. I have to ask you about this because I mentioned that you said that to Henry and Amanda, and they said it was called tossing the salad.
It was called tossing the salad. So back in the 80s, the only people that were eating ass were in prison. And now it's everybody's eating ass.
Why is it called tossing the
I'm not
salad?
eating ass.
I'm not eating ass.
I don't
think
know.
it's disgusting.
I'm not saying
But-
everybody. I shouldn't say everybody because that's a
But-
generality.
Yeah,
but,
but it's more just acceptable. But
now it's a thing that people like put on their profile.
why? It's just someone explain this to me. What does salad have to do with eating ass? I don't understand.
There's a reason
dictionary
for it.
that
We should.
serves-
Yeah, we
Somebody
should
explain it to me.
Chris Tucker explained it pretty well, I think, at one point.
But so tossing the salad.
There
Yes,
was
I
a-
remember that.
So you're saying it was just something that no one would do or admit that they were doing. So that's
It
really
was-
the question. Is it that people weren't doing it or people aren't talking about it? Because they didn't want to be shamed.
Well, and sometimes you almost need someone to talk about it to get the idea too, and then
Yeah.
start because I honestly would never have thought of having a girlfriend in my marriage until I was hearing other people talk about it, and then I was like, oh, you know. Honestly, and even when we were talking about it the first time we talked about it, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, let's see. The expression has been kicking around the U.S. prison community for a while. Toss a salad meant to lick or suck an anus.
Bruce Rogers' 1972 edition of the Queen's Vernacular.
A gay lexicon. Not just a regular lexicon, a gay lexicon.
Toss salad and scrambled eggs. Why? I'm just.
Prisoners
But why?
of the war on drugs. There's a tossed salad man who describes to a reporter one of the ways another prisoners might pay for drugs or pay off a drug debt. And it involved the person applying some jelly from a jelly packet to his asshole and then sucking his asshole like it was a pussy while he jacked off.
Interesting.
Do we want to keep going down this path?
I'm
But
good.
it mentions Chris Rock.
Yeah, the same year, the comedian Chris Rock, having seen the film, worked the term into his stand-up comedian routine or stand-up comedy routine, and then you can hear him. I won't play it because of the show,
yeah, but
because it might
That
be
still doesn't
copyrighted.
explain where that came from.
There's a segment called the Toss Salad Man. So I think the guy's nickname was Toss Salad Man.
Oh.
And then he told the reporter, like, oh, yeah,
I
motherfucker owes me
see.
drugs. I make him lick my butthole.
That is the origin. Oh, okay. He wasn't called Toss Salad Man because of the butthole thing.
No, I think his nickname was already Toss Salad.
Okay.
But he made people lick his buttholes for drugs. Butthole. He only had one that I
He
know
only
of,
had the one.
that I'm aware of. You're so frowny over there for.
Oh, I'm just thinking how God.
Well, I'm just saying that, like, so
This isn't for me. It's
Just in
not
the-
for me.
just in the, like, I think Jamie and I have been together for 4 or 5 years. And so in that amount of time since we started going out and meeting other people to bring into our relationship, I've noticed a trend where it's gone from like nobody talked about eating ass, and that's what they call it now, to everybody's like, oh yeah, and I'll eat ass. Like that's the thing I'd do. Like it's on the front page of their profile. Like, okay, cool. I hope
Like
you
it's
own
a badge to wear kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's like a thing to wear. And so like
And
now,
I suck dick. It's more of NIES.
yeah, and now I
Interesting.
wonder if like 5 years from now, we'll just assume everybody eats ass.
Do you allow
you,
other
Grandma.
people to eat your ass?
It's not bad.
I mean, they've never asked consent. Sometimes they just kind of wander.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, not sure. Not sure. I'm not
Not if you're ever going to kiss me again.
Yeah, I'm not slapping you away, but like if that mouth comes back up, I will then.
Yeah.
I've had some incidental contact like you're talking about.
And it
it's-
doesn't
it's
feel
all right.
bad. Like it's not that I hate it. Like
Yeah.
other pressures and other things around my hole kind of thing. But
You can't even say butt and hole in the same. I love that Pamela and I have this little thing we can just poke you with. Butthole.
booty hole. Yeah.
Nice dodge.
Yeah. Other things that trend. I don't know. Like, what has trended in your life? What do you feel like? I mean, oral sex definitely had its trend, and I'm like, I'm sorry, honey, but it's just not a thing anymore for me.
What do you mean it's not a thing for you?
She's talking about a personal trend.
Yeah, but I want to know what you mean by it's not a thing.
It's just not something that, I mean, I'll ask for it, yes, for
Uh-huh.
myself, but give, it's kind of like,
You don't enjoy giving anymore?
sometimes yes, but I feel like that power had been taken away from me so many times that like I'd be really in a good mood to like really enjoy it. Other times I'm just kind of like, I really want to give back to you, and that's why I'm doing it more than I'm getting enjoyment from that kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of a trend. I think there's positions I like that come and go that I'm like, this is my favorite right now. This is my flavor. And then I'm like, yeah, we're done with that one. Let's try something new.
I think doing Dom stuff comes and goes for me in that same way. And like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I really want to do that. And then other times it's just like, dude, I can't be bothered. Why do you got to even bring
I
it
gotta
up?
boss you around and
Yeah, stop telling me to tell you what to do. I'm tired of being told what to tell you to do. Just knock it off.
why BDSM is one of the biggest sex trends.
It is a big trend because
Yeah.
of 50 Shades.
Which is really unfortunate. That's such a terrible movie.
And one that's like really bad at
Well,
I think-
it's not really BDSM,
Yeah.
right? So it gave people the wrong idea of what BDSM is about.
Yeah.
It took out all the consent and respect. And anyway, but yes, as a result, we have some statistics if you can find the. Is it there? Oh, okay. Yeah, right here. So according to Ann Summers, searches for what is pegging in sex have seen a 250% increase, while what is BDSM, where is it? Searches are up by 70%, and the reason sales have recently skyrocketed is probably due to us staying at home so much due to COVID.
So we're buying more BDSM?
Or toys for it.
Toys, like
Accessories.
bondage toys. So, yeah.
You don't just go to the hardware store these days. Like, you get specialty.
That's not true. I went to the hardware store last time. And every time I added something to the cart, I took a picture and I sent it to her.
Nice.
Yeah. It helped really build the moment.
Yeah. How I can't remember if we talked about pegging before.
What is
that-
pegging?
You don't know
You
what
don't know what
pegging
pegging is?
Well, no, I know what pegging is, but I'm asking because we're on a podcast and not everybody knows what pegging
Oh,
is.
yes. Thank you, Brady. So pegging is when usually a woman will put on a dildo and will fuck her man in the ass with it.
So one of the things I got asked on a different show, because I have replicas of my dick around the room, was if I've ever let Jamie peg me.
with your own dick.
Yeah. The answer is no.
I was like,
I can't. I don't like stuff back there at all. Like even a little bit of stuff. Like you could put a little pressure, but the moment you start working your way in, like I'm like
You're out.
like a cartoon cat on an electric fence.
I love pegging Henry. I love it.
I mean, I'm not judging anybody who
talked about it.
enjoys
He
it.
liked
Yeah,
it.
he
Yeah,
says he
yeah.
I
likes
didn't
it.
think you were judging. I'm just letting you
Yeah.
know it's fun.
I don't know. There's something about it for me that's really
So we-
uncomfortable.
And I'm not giving you instructions here at all. I'm just giving the audience instructions.
It might help.
So we started with this teeny tiny little dildo. It was like just barely bigger than a finger. And I had it strapped into my strap on and, he took it like a champ. And then we like moved up to like a medium sized dildo. And now he can take like a full size cock.
regular.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, cool because I'm not the one getting it in my bum, so I'm cool with that. Good
Jamie-
for you guys. Just kidding.
Jamie slipped a digit on me on our honeymoon, and I haven't recovered since.
I have stuck a finger up Justin's bum
Really?
without consent. I was so hammered. And it was a thumb, no less, too.
Oh
it wasn't even
God,
like,
Mariah.
yeah. And well, because like I was like playing it down there. Like, so speaking of trends, even in our own marriage, and like he was like, hey, I like my taint played with like that. Like, that feels good. So I was like, well, I wonder what else you'd like. And
Well, if you like that, you'll love this.
right? And then he's like, I just remember the sound that came from him. Yeah, he was like, oh. And he's like, I didn't like that even a little bit.
Did you have nails?
No.
Okay.
Did you
'Cause I
take
was
your
like,
rings
that might
off?
be the reason. No, and I never wear thumb rings, but it was just so funny because I used to get like acrylic nails forever, and then when people would hear that story, they always look at my hands and they were like, "Dear God!" And I'm like, "It was before I had nails. Don't worry." But yeah, so he's taken something bigger up his bum than I've taken something big up mine. Yeah. I probably shouldn't say that out loud because I feel like now like karma's coming.
Oh, for sure.
I've already texted him.
Shut up. But yeah, it's just kind of seeing trends of my own or like trends that I've noticed too. I think, pubic hair is a big one just because like that kind of everyone talked about in high school. I felt like everybody talked about being shaved. And then
I was in high school in the 90s. I can't relate.
and that's only 10 years.
That's only because I graduated in 05.
Yeah.
And like just between like junior high and high school, I remember like at one point I was like, finally pubes. The fuck do you mean I gotta get rid of them? Right?
Well, I remember, so like I had a friend who was like, oh my God, you don't shave? And like this is junior high, right?
Oh, that's
like,
why you like a smooth surface. You're traumatized.
Right. And I was like, are we supposed to do this? Where's the book to tell me what we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, and I remember like asking my mom when I was younger and I was like, don't the hairs down there tickle? Looks like when you're with dad, like, do you guys tickle each other with your hairs? And I remember she thought it was the funniest thing, but I was like, truly truly, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because hair
Because what
kind
am
of
I supposed to
tickles.
do here? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but I just remember her just like, she was just laughing. But I mean, my family, we were open enough to have those kind of conversations. That wasn't a whole lot of shaming and being curious. It was shaming after you've completed the act or done something. You know, that was kind of a little bit the messaging. But yeah, have you noticed any trends in your own life? Anything that you've paid attention to personally or just otherwise?
I don't know. That's hard for me to say because I like went from being Catholic to being Mormon, and so much of my
Jesus.
sex life so much
Sorry.
of my sex life was dictated by a religious institution that I think the trend was to have the most vanilla sex possible in the missionary position for like 15 years. And then
do all the
after
things with all the
that-
people.
Yeah, after that, the trend was to do the opposite of that in every fucking way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like BDSM ebbs and flows with me. I never really crave it, but if I bump into somebody who's good at it, I'll party.
You notice any porn trends?
Yeah, I feel like when I do use porn, it's a trending thing. So like sometimes I'm super into, at least personally, like,
Oh, what you like?
yeah, like the thing that
Oh, I was just
triggers
gonna
me.
say what you see in porn. Okay,
I don't
but
watch
yeah.
a lot of porn is the problem.
Oh, you know, I will say I have, I guess, fantasies that I'll like use until they're worn out.
Yeah.
And I'll discard them, come up with something new.
Or-
And then sometimes I'll
Do you-
recycle them.
Pamela, do you ever do the thing where you like actually get to do your fantasy and then now you can no longer get off to your fantasy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it's not that the real thing wouldn't get me off, but now just thinking about it isn't quite as exciting.
Yeah, I've checked it off
You're
the
not
list.
building it up inside your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty true. But I don't know.
Hey, why don't you
My life is a fantasy.
Do you have any predictors of what the next sex trend is going to be?
eating ass with a toe in it? I don't know.
Why do you have to disgust me in one sentence? No, I'm just.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. I kind of wonder.
That's a warning.
Yeah. I kind of wonder because it's really how much further do you go than eating an ass? But I'm sure someone will surprise us.
What is like something like licking eyeballs
There's
or
always something more extreme.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're like needle play. There's
Yeah, but
electricity. Like, there's always something more extreme than
it's
Yeah.
gotta be orgies.
Smart car orgies.
Like really like well done, well put together.
Like old school Greek
Orgies.
bathhouse
See,
orgies.
I feel like they're coming back. Fucking quarantine is over, you guys. We are opening up.
Are we?
We're all pent up.
Oh, quarantine is not over. Hey,
Well,
let's
okay,
just be
okay.
clear.
It's
Please
It's
stay
getting
home.
there.
ending quickly.
Please stay home and go get the vaccine. I'm just going to say
Yes.
those two things.
Yeah, and
And
you're not
once you get
invited to
vaccinated-
And once
into
you get
the orgy.
vaccinated, please stay home
Yeah.
because everyone needs to stay home until we have herd immunity. But once that's done with and we have herd immunity, I absolutely agree. Like orgies is a great direction to go in because people are they have this like sexual frustration, right? And all this pent up energy and they have to do something with it.
You haven't seen other people or been with other people for how long? You
Yeah.
know?
You guys heard it here today. Pamela and Mariah are going to open up the first Greek orgy bathhouse in the state of Utah the day after the pandemic ends.
In Brady's backyard.
Dude, I'm down. You were talking about a pagan witch dance. I'll build a Satan statue.
Make a golden calf out of actual gold.
Let's do it. Other people's gold. They can melt down their
Yeah.
jewelry when they come into the sex pit.
If you'd like to donate your gold, you can mail it to.
Well, speaking of mailing it to, if anybody wanted to tell us about their sexual trends
You
or
would do
join in the
so-
conversation.
Yeah, you would do so at saltysexcast@gmail.com.
You can also reach us on Facebook. Like we answer when you send us a message or comment on something. We love the love.
Yeah, but we just want to state that we cannot get you a role in a porno. We
Our
do not.
orgy porno. Maybe we can
do
start
not-
casting for that.
Dude, I'm going to
just
get
kidding.
a drone for the pit. You guys will dig a pit. I'll
For
get a
a
drone. Yeah, we can totally do a mud wrestling pit out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. You can also become part of our community on Patreon. You have to type the address into your browser. It is patreon.com/saltysexcast. And we release exclusive content on there. Patrons, thank you so much for your patience. We're actually going to follow through on all of our promises this month. We have things scheduled like a live Q&A with Mariah and I. We'll have an After Dark episode.
Yeah, they haven't been completely neglected.
Oh, no, not at all. But
yes.
there have been a couple of things we have not done as well on. So we're definitely going to check all those
trends
boxes.
were kind of on a low, right? We're just going to blame it on the sex trends.
Pandemic.
But, and if you're listening to us from your Apple device or you have an Apple account, please go to the podcast on Apple and give us a review. We would love to hear what you think of the show, and I think others would love to hear too.
Yeah.
So then they can jump in and join the salty crew, salty sexy crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spread us like the STD we are.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Well,
All right. Thanks for joining us. I hope everybody has a great week and stay salty. No, stay sexy
and salty.
and salty.
Bye.
See what happens. I miss one episode and I'm out of practice.
Puberty? Well, puberty's a lot of things. Here's the piece.
When you hear about it first, it sounds very strange.
Oh, if it really bothers you, you should see a doctor. Then at puberty, certain glands begin to work, and our bodies begin to change. It enlarges the penis itself.
And there's a center opening between those two, which is called the vagina.
The sex education you wish you had in high school.
Maybe a diagram will help.